and welcome back to another episode of Love, Life and Disability with me, Kate Ashton. Today I'm joined by racing driver Aaron Morgan, who is competing in the 2022 British GT Championships with TeamBrit, a team providing the disabilities no barrier in motorsport, which is just amazing. And I'm sure many of my followers already know. I am pretty big when it comes to things like go-karting, F1 racing. Aaron is from Basingstoke and has been involved in motorsport all his life. So it's always amazing to see people like Aaron racing, and especially at this level. I've always been tempted to go further within the racing industry myself, but I think for now, I will leave it to the professionals. So it's such a pleasure to have you on board today, Aaron. How are you?
Thank you, Kay. I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. So Aaron, you started racing when you was 7 years old. How did this come about?
Yeah, so when in the build up to Christmas it would have been 97, my granddad said to my parents that he wanted to buy me a quad bike, just ride around fields and stuff on. But my parents did a bit of research into quads, and when they're quite prone to flipping over, and obviously when they flip over, you get buried underneath them and kind of thing like that. So they can be quite dangerous. So like I say, my parents looked into it a bit further, and they eventually in the end, instead of buying me a quad, they bought me a little 50cc motorbike, which originally started just riding around local fields. And I used to tell my dad to make tracks out of sticks. So he'd say to me, right, son, go to the right side of this stick, the left side of that stick. I went through that for a few months. But then after a little while, the competitive side of me kicked in, and like, Dad, I'm getting a bit bored of this now. I want other people to race against.
That's amazing. It's like one of my next door neighbours, he's just recently started on all these little motorbike kind of things as well, and he's absolutely loving it. He's about 5 or 6 now as well, and he's just got himself his nice little suit and his little thing, and he's loving it. So I can just imagine as well what you would have been like at that competitive part as well.
No, definitely. It took over my life for the next 8 years. Often you hear people living for the weekend, and I was definitely the kid that did for that. I went to school. I was quite, I was pretty good at school. But that was mainly because my dad said to me, if you do well at school, son, you can carry on doing your motocross. If you're naughty at school, then you can't race. So I was good at school, and then it was always, come on, when's Friday? Come on, hurry up, and then go racing again. And then Monday came, and now we've got to wait another week. And yeah, we absolutely lived for it. My mum and dad had a big camper van, so we used to go up on the day before the race, stay over, have barbecues and stuff. And mum and dad got drunk with the friends they made through racing whilst we were all still in bed.
And it makes such a great community.
Definitely, the family loved it, and everybody had friends at the races. So like I say, everybody enjoyed it.
And in 2006, when you was just 15 years old, that's when you had your accident on your favourite motorbike track. What actually happened there?
Yeah, so we're just practicing, funny enough, on Good Friday, which is only a few weeks away now. Like you say, practicing at one of my favourite tracks, one I've done probably hundreds, if not thousands, of laps on. But I can't tell you what happened. I don't remember it at all.
Yeah.
I was incredibly fortunate. Immediately after, or when I was lying on the floor after the crash, I actually stopped breathing for 9 minutes.
Wow.
So that just formed the whole ethos behind my life, or living my life with my disability. That I'm now disabled, but I was actually so close to dying. So you just have to just be so grateful for still being alive, and take the disabled part and embrace life, really.
No, I totally agree with that, because it's so important that we are people that just live with our disabilities, and whether or not we've acquired them through accidents or being born disabled, to just grip life is just an incredible thing to do, and just to show people that we are able. We might have to make a little bit of adaptations at points to be able to do something, but we should be given those equal opportunities as well to take part. When did you realize then, at that point, the dream was then to become a racer?
So having started racing at 7 years old, it was all I'd ever really known. But prior to starting motocross racing, I was often watching my dad go-kart racing, and through go-karting he had a friend who had a rallycross supercar. So when we weren't watching my dad were go-karting, we're often off watching rallycross races at various tracks all around Europe and the UK. A distinct memory is one day my dad, so John, the rallycross racer, he'd raced in Germany or Belgium on the Saturday. He drove to Calais for Sunday morning. We left our house super early in the morning. My dad folded the seats in his estate car down to make a bed for me and my sister. So we drove to Dover. My dad got in John's coach, drove John's coach from Dover to Pembrey in Wales, whilst my mum followed behind with me and my sister asleep in the back seats.
Oh, wow. And how important was it to return back to your normal activities after the accident as well? Because as you say, you know, you've known no different from the racing part,
Yeah,
growing
so
up and stuff.
returning back to normal life was really important to me. Like I say, I was a very sort of academic and sporting achiever from a very young age, not just through motocross. I played tennis, played rugby as well. So having the opportunity to really sort of kickstart my life and get back integrated into normal life was very important to me. I actually started doing college work whilst I was still in hospital to get me ready for when I left. And as I say, one day when I was in hospital, my occupational therapist, she came to me and she said, "Aaron, do you know disabled people can learn to drive at 16 years old?" I think it was a few weeks after I had my 16th birthday. So at that young age, for someone who'd been racing motorbikes and around cars all his life, you know, I thought I'd won the lottery. I was, you know, straight away I applied for my driving license, and I found the BSM instructor, and he actually drove to the hospital I was at in Salisbury. He drove to there. I'd wheel out in my chair, we'd go off on our driving lesson, and then obviously I'd go back into the hospital to be an inpatient as such. So that just shows how keen I was to get back on the road.
Oh, I tell you one thing though, that whole driving at 16, I remember when I read that, and I thought to myself, this has got to be a prank, because as people may know, you know, my birthday's this week, which is April, and I thought it was like an April Fool's when someone was like, "Yeah, you do realise you can start driving at 16?" I was like, "Really?" Like, no, you've got to be kidding me. And then I got my license through, and I only went on about 2 lessons because I thought I might be a little bit too mature at 16 to probably get behind a wheel. So I thought, I'm going to wait till I'm 17 and then go for it proper. And then I failed on my 18th, and then I passed like a few months after. How soon did you pass?
So I passed first time.
Oh, amazing.
First time.
Oh, incredible. And what was it like being able to drive at 16 for yourself then? Just amazing. And imagine being able to go to wherever you want to at drop of a hat.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that ability to drive and, you know, have your own car at such, you know, at any age really just opens up so many doors. You don't have to rely on people to take you places anymore. You know, you can just jump in your car and off you go really. So like I say, it's such a huge independence enabler. And, you know, for us, obviously, you know, living with a disability yourself, you know, public transport can be very patchy even at the best of times. So having not to rely on that too makes a huge difference as well.
It totally does. And as well, becoming the youngest ever person to achieve the National B racing license, how did that feel?
Yeah, it was another huge achievement. Just one of them things I had, you know, had the opportunity to get back into motor racing, and I wasn't going to let anyone stop me. So I had to do around 10 months worth of testing in order to get that race license. So I had to first of all prove that I can evacuate my race or the car I was racing at the time within 6 seconds. So that's a case of, you know, being fully in the seat, I'm fully belted up and stuff. Then obviously you got to quickly take the belt off, open the door, and then it's not glamorous. It's just a case of throwing yourself out on the floor. So fortunately enough, able to practice with the mattress on the floor, so the landing's nice and soft. And then following that, I had to do some sprint events, which basically sort of like qualifying laps, just timed laps of racetracks, in order just to get some experience of being on a track and on a track environment. And then, as you say, after I'd done all of them things, I was the youngest ever disabled person at the time. I don't know if I still hold the record, to get that National B racing license.
That's incredible. And it does take a lot to like achieve these licenses, because the second thing that you spoke about as well, so going back, God, it would be the November just before COVID started, was when I was going to go for one of my licenses to do with the go-karting. And they said the same thing. You've got to be able to escape the cart within X amount of seconds. And he's like, I don't care how you do it, just providing you can get out. And I couldn't get myself out quick enough when I was practicing. So I was thinking, it's a lot of money for me to be going for this license. And I know at this moment in time, I'm not quick enough to get out of the cart. And that's the bit that has stopped me, I think, at the moment going more pro, is that speed. But I think obviously the more you practice and the more that you can do it, then the quicker you might be to do it. What would your top tips be?
Yeah, definitely. It's just a case of practice. Finding like the routine that works for you, the order of things you need to do stuff, working out which one works best for you. And then, like I say, just practice after practice after practice.
And in 2011, that was your first debut with the production BMW Championship grid. How was this for you? It sounds incredible.
Yeah, so it was a massive, just a big culmination of a huge effort to get back on the grid. As you said before, I got my race license in 2008, I believe it was. But because of lack of funding, I wasn't able to compete a full season until 2011. So sort of all of 2000, or some of 2008, 2009, 2010 was all spent looking for sponsors. But then, as you say, I found the one I needed in 2010, which meant I was able to compete in my first full championship in 2011. It was such an incredible feeling to be back on the grid and back racing with other people. The thing I really love about racing is, obviously, despite my visual paralysis, is that I don't see myself as a disabled person, and
Mhm.
that is what motorsport gives me. It gives me that level playing field, so I can compete with the able-bodied drivers in the race, and it just makes it so much more sweeter when you beat them as well.
I can imagine it does. So, Aaron, as we know, sponsorship can be really important when it comes to racing, and we can see many in your T-shirt today. Can you tell us a little bit about the sponsorship, please?
Yeah, so TeamBrit, they're not a charity; they are a professional race team. So we are reliant on sponsors the same way all the Formula One teams are, etc., etc. So the team have a number of sponsors who provide either financial or product sponsorship to them. Obviously, a number of these are seen on my T-shirt here. But as drivers, we then need to bring individual sponsorship into the team as well, in order to pay for our drives as such. So my personal sponsors for this season are CDW, who are just up here on the T-shirt, and they specialise in IT solutions, and they're one of the largest. They are the largest IT reseller in the world. And then in addition to that, I'm also sponsored by a company called Stratos Control Systems, who specialise in control systems and system automation. So incredibly grateful to all of the team sponsors and both my personal sponsors, because without them, there's absolutely no way that any of us would be able to race.
That is incredible. And in 2018, you actually achieved your first top 10 and finish at Thruxton. How did that feel for you?
Yeah, it was just incredible again. It's such a long journey. From like I say, from getting my license in 2008 to my first season in 2011, and then slowly working my way up the grid for the next 7 years. And then, funny enough, Thruxton's the most local track to where I live here in Basingstoke. So ultimately, getting my first top 10 here at my home track, it really was a very special occasion.
And with your racing and like with the car and stuff, have you had to have any adaptations or anything done to that? And how does that process go about if you have?
Yeah, so my compact cup car was adapted. So I'm sure maybe some of the viewers will be aware of push-pull hand controls. For those that aren't, push-pull lever is installed. It's just to the bottom right of the steering wheel. But instead of being pull to go, push to brake, I adapted it so that it had like a trigger throttle on it. So it was you still pushed it towards the dashboard to brake, but you operated like a trigger, like I said, a trigger with your fingers to accelerate. So it meant that you were able to do both things at the same time. So you could throttle and brake rather than with the push pull, you can only do one or the other. And then in my compact as well, fortunately, we had an engineer in the series who manufactured a system for me so I could still use a manual gearbox in the car.
Okay.
So it had a lever on the gear stick which operated like a motorbike clutch. So I could pull that in and then, as I needed to change gear. But then moving to TeamBrit in 2019, they have they have world leading hand control technology, which means that you're able to keep both your hands on the steering wheel at all times when operating the car. So they have a paddle behind the right hand side of the steering wheel, which is like a progressive brake throttle, a paddle on the left, which is a progressive brake, and then there's buttons inside the steering wheel, which can go up and down the gears with your thumbs. So as I said, it means you're able to say, for example, come into a hairpin. You can come in there, be heavy on the brakes, downshifting, then slowly bleeding off the brakes so the weight of the car's not all over the front wheels as you start to turn into the hairpin, and then as you need to start accelerating out of the hairpin, as well as letting the lock off the steering wheel and changing up gears as you exit. You can do all of them things, as I said, without taking your hands off the steering wheel. With previous controls, I'd only ever have one hand on the steering wheel because my
Mhm.
other hand would be occupied on the push-pull hand control lever.
That's a lot. That would be a lot of skill in itself, though, if it was that latter model as well, because I'd imagine. Well, I can only obviously compare it to like on the go-karting. It's like such an upper body workout. It's like, especially like your top part of your shoulders up to your like the bit where you bend them. If I'm only holding with one hand to try and keep that, and then go down and then hand back up, that must be insane, intense.
Yeah, it was tough, but
Wow.
obviously the big differentiator between a car and a go-kart is cars have power steering, go-karts don't. So
Yeah.
having driven go-karts a few times over the past few years, it is very hard work because, as I say, you don't have that power steering there to help you out.
I wonder at what point we can get power steering go-karts. That'd be incredible. I think that's where I just need to move then into the racing cars. It's recently been, like obviously announced in the papers that you and Bobby will be racing at the British GT Championship. How are we feeling?
We're both incredibly excited for the season ahead. The new car we've got, the new McLaren, the TeamBrit McLaren 570S, is an absolute stunning car to look at, and it's such a great car to drive. It handles so well. The power delivery, obviously, it's incredibly fast, but the power delivery is quite smooth at the same time. The mechanics have put a lot of work in through the winter to get the car ready for the season. So we both feel incredibly lucky. Um, we did some testing in Portugal probably about a month ago now. We had 3 days of solid running. So we've built up some experience of driving in the car. So we're itching and ready to go now. We have the best crew in the business behind us, so we're confident of success.
And how does that whole crew side of things come together? So obviously you race with Bobby. How did you come across Bobby to race with Bobby, for example, and then hire your crew to support you when you do your races?
So when I joined TeamBrit, Bobby was obviously another driver with the team. So we were just sort of paired by the team as such. We didn't choose each other. But from going from racing and not really knowing each other, to then obviously where we've got to now over the past 3 years, our relationship has developed immensely, and we're
Yeah.
great friends now, and we're great teammates as well. So in terms of the crew supporting us, the team provides obviously all the race engineers and mechanics needed to support us at the races, to help us through the pit stops, and we've got a race manager this year who is also helping us from sort of like a driving coaching point of view as well. So it's a great team, great bunch of people behind us, and that's really what I think sets us apart from other teams. When we go along to races, there's such a great camaraderie between all of the drivers because every driver within TeamBrit does have a disability, whether that be physical or mental. So we always have a great laugh in the garage, and we all overcome our own very individual struggles in our own way through motorsport.
And that's having that shared interest as well, isn't it? Sometimes that can bring people together and that shared understanding and that angle to like focus on, which is can take your mind off everything else that you're having to deal with. So sometimes it's like, I think the best way I can probably say it is leaving our disabilities at the track at that starting point, and then it's boom, I'm a racer, and off you go.
Yeah, well, that's the really nice thing about it. Obviously, you can understand this as well. It feels, sometimes it feels when you get in the car and or the go-kart, your wheelchair stays in the pits. It's then just
Yeah.
you in the car. So yeah, it kind of feels like because you've left your wheelchair behind, you've left your disability behind in some ways, because motorsport is the only sport in the world which gives disabled people the chance to compete with able-bodied people on that level playing field, as I mentioned earlier.
I don't know if you've ever found this when you started to do the racing and stuff. Is when I used to go karting, and I'd walk onto the track and stuff to get ready to go in my crutch and stuff, and these guys, because a lot of women don't tend to do like the go karting. Literally everyone I've raced has always been the men, and the boys look at me and they feel sorry for me and they think I'm going along with a boyfriend, and they kind of like, oh, look at, oh, and they like think trying to patronize me, and I'm just thinking, boys, I don't need this, mate. And then I'll put my crutch to the side, off I go, spin round, and I'd say usually I'm always top five. When I go in, that's out of like 17. So last time I went to Three Sisters, I came third out of 17, and there was one other female on the track. And the boys, then when I just come off, they're just looking at me like, huh? Hmm. They just don't know what to say or look. I don't even get any congratulations or well done. It's just they get the race sheet and just walk off. How have you found any of that, or have you had any of those sort of awkward moments where people think we're maybe not up to the mark because of our disabilities?
No, I can't say I've ever really experienced that. There's sometimes some nervousness when you go into, say, a new championship or competing against new people, but the championships which I've competed in over the past 10, 11 years, everybody's been extremely friendly, and
Good.
after the first few races, you sort of work out who your rivals are. You have a good laugh with them and stuff. So yeah, no, I can't really say I've ever had a specific example like you've just mentioned. But no, the really nice thing is, we're treated as racers and
Good.
as equal competitors. And like I say, we have a great relationship with the other people we race with. So yeah, it's good fun.
That's amazing. And if I recall correctly as well, you don't just want to stop with the British GT Championship. You actually want to come and carry on to be like one of the first disabled entries into like the Le Mans 24.
Yeah, so it's TeamBrit's goal to be the first British all-disabled team to compete in the Le Mans 24-hour race. It's an incredibly exciting journey to be part of, and I have no doubt that as a team we will get there.
And how soon can you get there as a team?
So realistically, as I said, Bobby and I are competing in the McLaren GT4 car in the British GT Championship this year. Then the plan is for us to move up to a GT3 car in the British GT Championship next year. And then in 2024, the ACO, who are the committee that organised the Le Mans 24-hour race, they're changing the rules slightly, which means GT3 cars will be allowed to compete at Le Mans from 2024. So,
Okay.
like I say, everything going as it should and plans coming together. 2024 will be the first realistic chance that we have to get there.
Oh, that's amazing. And how much time do you actually spend racing and practicing racing? So I know you've just like touched upon before about, going overseas with Bobby to do some racing, but how much of your life are you spending racing at the moment, even if it's just practicing?
So in the build up to the season, obviously we get 3, maybe 4 test days in. Just ultimately, the winters, they always feel like such long times, but they're not that long really. But it's just a case of getting back in the car, getting back used to being back on the track and getting your head sort of back in the game as such, really. And then throughout the season, for example, if we're racing on a Saturday, so British GT, you qualify on a Saturday and then the races take part on a Sunday. But in the build up to the race, there's free test session. Well, they're not free, but test sessions which take place on the Friday before the race weekend. So the first round coming up in just over a week's time. We'll be testing on Good Friday. We're qualifying on Saturday, and then because it is Easter Sunday, we're not racing on Easter Sunday. We'll then be racing on the Easter Monday. So before each race, there's seven rounds this year. We'll be testing on the Friday before each race. So try and get in as much practice on the track as you can. But then the other big tool that we have at our disposal, sim racing, when COVID kicked in and everyone was locked down, sim racing sort of went through the roof because people couldn't get to the real track to race. So, you had to do it online and stuff. Wow. But that's not to say that, the modern advances in sort of simulator technology has really taken off in that time as well because of the demand for it. So that's our next best tool. And obviously, being on the simulator, it's free and easy to use. So try and get as much time as I can on the simulator to learn new tracks, to learn the lines for tracks, to learn, try and improve setups for the cars as well. So it's all an extremely worthwhile tool to help for the real race weekends.
The simulators, though, are a fantastic way because that's like what pilots use as well, I believe, like when they're doing some of their training in the first instances, is they go through the simulators as well. So it can be a great way to keep that ticking over.
No, definitely. As hopefully I've just portrayed, they are the next best thing to being out on the track. And there's been various situations over the years where sim racers have gone on to race real cars, and they've been very successful. So there's a huge amount of value in it. So like I say, I try and get on it as much as I can.
Incredible. And as well, I could imagine that as we've touched upon with like the physical side of things, gym sessions and trying to keep fit as well. Do we have a strict gym routine to go with it?
So I train with a personal trainer at local gym twice a week. So obviously we build a lot of structure into my training through that. And then outside of that, just trying to go on general pushes in my wheelchair, just around the estate where I live. It's all just good exercise and good fitness. In addition to that, I try and get to the gym. I've got an adaptive rowing seat. So just get in the gym for my cardiovascular fitness, as I mentioned, on top of the pushes around the local block. So the strength work is done with my personal trainer, and then the more sort of cardiovascular side is done by myself. So that keeps me busy when I'm away from the track, away from the simulator, and away from any public, any sponsorship activities which I need to do.
That's amazing. And where can my disabled listeners go who are wanting to take up a career in motorsport? What would your top tips be, and where can they go?
Yeah, so recently TeamBrit launched a racing academy. Now I'm sure trying to find a sort of supercar or an accessible supercar day is very hard to do. So just before lockdown, I think it was, TeamBrit launched their racing academy. So you go along to their race academy. You can have a go on their simulators, so you can get used to how their hand controls work when the car's out on the track, which is very helpful. And then so if you go along to a day, you'll try to use the simulator in the morning, then you'll graduate to the real car in the afternoon, obviously with instruction from a real-time race driver as well. So you make your most out of the day. And then if after that initial taste of speed and being on the track, you decide, you do want to go through it for your race license, TeamBrit will help you through the steps which you need to do in order to get that race license. And then there's sort of like a development plan within the number of cars which they have within the team. So there's a BMW 1 Series, which the more rookie drivers come in on, and then once you've built a bit of experience racing the 1 Series, there's then a BMW 240i, which you can develop and move into. Following that, then you can graduate up to the Aston Martin, and then following that, you can then move up to the McLaren. So it's really cool, the driver development program that they have. It's all just about building experience of being on the track and developing yourself as a driver.
I've seen the academy email come into my inbox the other week, and I was so tempted. I'm just like, do I join it? I sat there and I thought, I wonder if Aaron's going to be there on the day. Like, are you going to be doing like any talks or showing people and talking about it as well? Will you be involved with the day yourself?
I'm not involved in the academy days myself, but obviously, if well, I'm going to say when for UK, when you decide you want to get your race license, we'll be there at the racetrack, and we all help each other. So we're all always reviewing each other's footage and giving each other tips on how you can be better around set of corners, etc.
No, I definitely do want to do it at some point, but with the whole IVF at the moment, I'm trying to time everything because I'm probably gonna have to wait now till like little one's gonna be born, and from at that point, I think that's gonna have to be the plan, and then it's whether or not do I do the racing or parenting. I've then got to pick them between those two. Like, Mum, look after little one whilst I go for a race. It could be our first little like Team Brit mascot. And how has sport been developing you as an individual? How has this racing developed you?
Yeah, so sport, or motorsport more particularly, has developed me in a person, so much. I don't have time to worry or focus on my disability, what it can and can't let me do. Like I've mentioned through the time we've been speaking, I'm always out in the gym getting ready for races. I'm out doing sponsor activities. I'm out trying to find more sponsors. I don't have time to sit here and focus on my disability, or even if I do, I always just think, next race is in a few weeks' time, so I've got that to look forward to. It's always sort of the light at the end of the tunnel. But then in addition to that, from sort of a more of a personal point of view, it's developed my confidence no end, my communication skills, both written and verbal. Probably when I was a young 15-year-old, I wouldn't have even dreamt of speaking to people. I've done a few public speaking opportunities, wouldn't have even dreamt of it. And then coming on Zooms and stuff like this, I'm not sure I would have had the confidence to do so. So it's definitely helped develop me along in that sense. And obviously there's certain attributes which racing helps develop, the ability to work well under pressure. In addition, work well under pressure, and obviously quick decision making, because driving the McLaren, the corners come at you very quickly, so you have to time when you do stuff and etc. So yeah.
And where can people go to find out more about your journey then, Aaron, and support you?
So if people want to follow my season this year, they can go to my website, which is aaronmorganracing.com, or by searching Aaron Morgan Racing on any of the social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Then they can find out more about myself, or if they wanted to find out more about TeamBrit as well and how they potentially get involved in motor racing, if they go to teambrit.co.uk, then that will have all the information which they need.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you and just learning about your career and what's coming up next for you as well. It's been amazing.
No, thank you, Kay. Thank you very much for having me along today.
Thank you.